in the RV world as we're sitting by a campfire. I think the thing that I would take away is don't make a second row. Always pull the chairs back. Make people feel welcome.
All right, hey everybody, welcome back to the Why Not RV podcast. This week I have a special guest named Jennifer. Jennifer, tell me a little bit about yourself, your background, what you're bringing here.
So, I mean, we're kind of a diverse group. So basically, my family has been on the road since 2013. My husband retired from the Marine Corps in 2012. And for 7 years, he had been on me to do this. And I said, no, never. I don't want to do this. And so a year later, I came home from an event in Southern California and basically walked in and said, I think we're supposed to go on the road full time in an RV. And he said, I've been waiting 7 years for you to say that. So we launched in July 2013. And with 6 out of 7 of our kids, my oldest said, love you, mean it, see it, bye. And she was gone. But, we have a very big group of kids. So my youngest was 15 months when we hit the road, and we started out small and just it's kind of evolved over the years. So it's a different dynamic completely.
Awesome. Well, I got a ton of questions just off that statement. So let's first start with your husband said he was in the Marines. How long was he in the military for?
So he retired in 2012. So he did 20 years. Yeah.
Awesome.
And
Outstanding.
so we spent time as a military family. So moving around wasn't really strange to us, you know.
Sure.
And we bought a house where we thought we would live for the rest of our lives in Southern California.
I was just gonna ask, is
Yeah.
that where did you spend the majority of your time?
So we spent 7 years in North Carolina, split time, and then almost 10 years in California, split time, and 3 years in Kentucky. He did an INI station out there, and
I was
that
just
was
like,
basically,
what's in Kentucky?
yeah. So we were stationed at an army base for 4 years or 3 years at Fort Knox.
Oh,
So,
okay. Nice.
yep.
Now, what was his job? What did he do?
So his MOS, which is the fancy word for his job, is basically he was an electronics guy. So he worked at the schoolhouse out in 29 Palms for a bunch of years. He was an instructor for a while. He couldn't do a B-billet, so he could never do recruiting because he was too high of demand.
Gotcha. Was that
But he
aviation
retired out.
electronics?
No, he was
Oh,
actually just regular electronics. So he
okay.
did one with he went to Okinawa with aviation. So he was a com chief. So
Okay.
I mean he could do it with tanks. That's how we got to Fort Knox.
Gotcha. Okay, so and then now you said when you hit the road in 2013, you did it with 6 out of your 7 kids. The oldest one said, "You guys have fun." How old was the
Yeah.
oldest one?
She was 18. So she had
Okay,
been 18 for about 8 months at that
okay.
point. And then the other kids were 13, 11, and down below, down to one. So, I mean,
Wow.
we did it with 6 kids, 13 and under at that
Yeah.
point. So, yeah.
Now, what was the very first RV? How'd you get that many human bodies into one RV?
So the first RV we didn't actually launch with. It's kind of crazy, but we bought this RV that was like a 1990 something or other, and it was a travel trailer, and we refinished it, and it was tight. I mean, it was like packing in like clams.
Oh, I bet.
And right as we were about to launch, we actually got a 2006 travel trailer, but it was a toy hauler. So we went from, a 26-foot RV to a 29-foot RV.
Okay, but a
But it
toy
was
hauler.
bigger because the toy hauler we could build in the beds the way we needed to. And so
Gotcha.
I tell people we had a kid hauler.
Yeah,
It was
yeah. The toy hauler. The kids are the toys.
Yeah, and we did that for 3 years before we upgraded to our fifth wheel. So it wasn't
Wow.
until 2006 and the boys had gotten too tall to fit in their bunks that we
Right.
did upgrade.
Wow.
Because that meant more years. Like that was
Oh,
like,
sure.
extra commitment. So
Yeah. Now those first few years, so like let's just take the first 3 years for example. What'd you guys do? Were you like stationary in one spot a lot? Did you move around a lot? Did you just travel the whole country? What'd you guys
yeah,
do?
so we've been full-time nomadic forever.
Awesome.
So our first 5 months, we lived in what I call vacation mode. So all the money that we were, getting from our house being rented and his retirement, like was like we were living from payday to payday. And when you retire from the Marine Corps, you get a once a month paycheck. So by the end of the month, it was getting pretty lean.
Sure.
But, we had some savings, but we burned through that pretty quickly because I think that so many people live in what I call vacation mode the first
Oh yeah.
several months they're on the road.
Oh
You
yeah.
want to
They're
do it
they're
all, you want to see it
doing
all.
every
You might not
activity.
ever
Yeah.
come back.
Exactly.
So, but by that fall, we actually bought a Thousand Trails membership. And so that was
Okay.
a different game changer.
Yeah.
And we would meet our very first family in October of that year. And that changed the equation for us. It made us slow down and rethink how we did it. So, yeah, that was the whole first part of the season. But then we knew by the time we got through winter that year, we needed to find some other type of income. So, Frank actually found a job doing installs for a nationwide RV roofing company. So that was an interesting dynamic. It's not the one we own now. Great company. It's just, we parted ways amicably and, we
Yeah.
went from
Just how
there.
he kind of got his start.
Yeah, for sure.
Got it. Now, so for a lot of the people that don't know, and like Thousand Trails, I know about it, and all I know about it, and you correct me, and you tell me what it's about, because all I know is it's basically an annual membership that gets you access to all their parks, and you can stay at like one park for like, depending on your membership, up to 2 weeks, up to 3 weeks, and then you have to move to either another park or like leave for a week and come back. So what was that like for you having a Thousand Trails at the beginning? And like, did you guys stay for multiple weeks, try and stay at one spot as long as possible, or did you still move around quite a bit?
So, I mean, what thousand, it's a timeshare for RVers. I mean,
Okay.
essentially. I mean, they may not want to call it that, but that's what it is. So we have an elite membership. So the basic plan, if you're just thinking about Thousand Trails, I always tell people just buy the basic one. And they don't even sell annual or the memberships that I have anymore. They actually stopped doing that this year.
Oh wow.
So, you can't actually get one of those, but the average person doesn't stay on the road more than 4 years. So they have a 4-year plan now. And so people were buying and selling their memberships. I would say it was kind of a variation, so 2 weeks in one spot is kind of the sweet spot for us because then we had time to explore an area, but we could move on. Sometimes we stay 3 weeks. We rarely stay somewhere a month. But for Thousand Trails, the reason we joined was because they said that's where the families were. And my
Yeah.
kids were looking for friends. We were looking for community. And so I don't think that Thousand Trails is a great fit for everybody, but I think if you're looking to find other families, it's a great way to do that.
Right.
And you
Now a
can
lot
use
of
it to balance out your income, balance out what you're paying, every month to go somewhere. Our membership now is paid off, because we bought it in 2013, and
okay,
that's the
gotcha.
nice thing is, you could finance it. So I think it was like $150 a month. We could stay 3 weeks, go to the next park, stay 3 weeks, go to the next park.
Yeah,
We
and that's
didn't always
insane.
stay three
$150
weeks.
a month.
Right.
I
So, I mean,
mean,
it might be more than that now. It's, been a few years.
even if it's less than $400 a month, I mean
But
that's.
yeah, and you don't have to pay electric when you're staying like that. So,
Oh
I mean,
wow.
there's some tips and tricks to it that make it a little bit more challenging, and you don't always get the spot you want. So, I
Right.
mean, like it used to be first come, first serve. This year, we haven't been in a Thousand Trails in months, and they've changed to booking a specific site. And you don't
Okay.
get to pick that site. So I don't know what this winter is going to look like for us because we'll use it again as we come back into fall.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And now a lot of the Thousand Trails Park, they're like KOAs. Like they have a lot of amenities, right? They have pools and kids games and activities and pickleball and that type of stuff.
Yeah, sure. And some of them are better than others, just like KOAs, some of them
Of
are better
course.
than others. So,
Right.
I mean, we also have a coast to coast membership. We're going to use that next week. So, I mean, there's other memberships out there, but most people don't know about them. Thousand Trails is the most popular.
Yeah,
So,
that's like I said, I know I heard about it a lot. I never full timed to the point where I needed that, so I never looked too far into it. I've heard about it from a lot of the full timers.
well, and for us, we decided to buy Coast to Coast several years later after Thousand Trails. And
Okay.
so Coast to Coast is another basic timeshare one. But then you have a home park system. Well, in Arizona, it's much harder for a family to find a place to stay. So I have a whole system in Arizona that I can go and bounce from, but I can use the Thousand Trails parks in between. So I can be out of the system. So it's a lot of money up front, long term. But if you're doing this full time like we are, it makes sense. We also have a Passport America.
Okay.
That's sometimes good, sometimes bad. Passport America saves you 50% off. So if you can find like a Sun Outdoors that charges $80 a night and you're staying for $40 a night, that one's worth it too.
Sure, that's
But they
pretty
do
cheap.
have some time limitations in between those stays.
Sure, I'm sure they probably even have like blackout weekends and
Yep,
certain rules like that. But
100%.
yeah,
Yep.
but for the
Well,
majority
and
of the
Thousand
time,
Trails doesn't. So that's one of the
okay.
nice things. So like coast to coast, the park we're in right now is a coast to coast. So we are in, where are we? I don't even know.
I was
South
just gonna ask,
Dakota.
where are you at now? South Dakota.
South Dakota. And so we're a week away from Sturgis. So starting August 1st, this park shuts down to just the home park members. So
Oh,
if
okay,
you are a
gotcha.
home park member here, it's that you have timeshare privileges here. And the one near Balloon Fiesta in Albuquerque has the same rules, kind of the same thing,
Right.
depending on where you
Yeah, like
are.
those major massive events that bring
Yep.
tons of RVers. I
Yep.
gotcha. Yeah, that
So
makes
like
sense.
because I'm not this isn't my home park, I can't stay here past August 1st.
Gotcha. So where are you guys heading to next?
So we'll head to Wisconsin. My husband is training an installer for our company. And then we're headed to Goshen for a bunch of rallies and Hershey, and it's a full lineup.
Nice. Yeah, so you'll be on the East Coast for a while coming up here soon.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well before we get too far into that, let's talk a little bit more about some of the work camping that you did in the earlier years. I know you mentioned that you guys kind of got your start there and your husband did the RV roof type stuff installing. What other work camping jobs did you do? Did some of the kids do maybe? I mean, tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. So in 2016, my oldest son was 16 years old and wanted to work camp for a summer. So when we work camp, I have some pretty strict requirements. And that first one was we have to be near a major national park. So that summer we found a job just outside of Yosemite and he and I worked housekeeping as a team. And so they didn't want to hire him by himself. California's kind of funny. So like we could only work from like Memorial Day weekend to like the end of Labor Day.
Okay.
And then he had to be done. So it was a very short season. So that was the first one. We would do that again I'd do that again with my kids together again. So my son Micah, he was 17, and I knew the guy that ran the Amazon Camper Force program. And so Kelly had us apply, and Micah was actually the youngest Camper Force employee ever. Now they've done away with the Camper Force program because a lot of people abused it. But we did
Really?
Camper Force together twice. Micah and I did. And so we did it in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, and then again in Virginia in 2020. By then, he was old enough to get in on his own, but it's always helpful to have a pair come in. They look at you differently then. And so that was useful. And it's a great way to lose weight and walk 20 miles a night if you really want to during the holiday season.
Yeah.
Micah and I also had work camp together in Florida in the summertime of 2020 because the world had gone crazy. And
Yes, it
so
did.
he worked full-time hours. I worked like 12 hours a week in the office just for our site. And so we've done some of that too. And then in 2022, all my kids said, I would love to not work for you this summer, Mom. Then I said, fine. So what does that look like in real life? And they said, we want to go work camp somewhere. And I said, okay. I said, go find somewhere that the park turns 150 years old. There's major seismic activity nearby and bison. And my son rolled his eyes
Yeah.
and went, so we're going to Yellowstone. And I said,
Yeah.
well, if we can find a place near Yellowstone, sure. And so we actually worked at the Westgate KOA
Oh,
for
nice.
that summer. It was a bittersweet season.
Now, was this summer of
Um,
2022?
2022. And that was
Okay.
the last time we worked camp together. But that KOA was one of the very original KOAs that Marv Lindy owned, and his sons owned that park. And so in 2022, that summer, the family sold it to corporate. And
Mm.
so it was the last time it was a family owned campground. But it was such an amazing summer, and it was so neat to immerse ourselves in Yellowstone and
Oh,
not
yeah.
have to rush through it. So we'd grab dinner in town and we'd go into the park and sit in the car and eat dinner with bison surrounding us. And so, like, we did things that other people just didn't do.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. I mean, so the Westgate KOA by comparison of Jackson Hole, how far is that drive?
Ours.
I know it's
So you would have been on the south side of Tetons at that rate of Jackson Hole.
yeah,
So I
it's
mean, like we
nuts.
were on the very far side of that. So it would be basically the west gate of Yellowstone in the Montana corner.
Okay.
So going toward Idaho.
Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah, we I went to Grand Tetons in Yellowstone in 2020 and
Oh, neat.
we hit the perfect timing because we had this trip planned out and to make a long story short, basically we were coming around and the trip was a trip. We had the dates and reservations set and all of a sudden National Park Service announced that they're reopening the parks on this Tuesday, whatever it was, and it was the day before we were getting to the Grand Teton RV park
That's
that we're staying at.
awesome.
So we got to Grand Tetons the day after it reopened, and there was nobody there.
Nobody
I
there.
mean, it
Yeah.
was
So
insane.
I actually had friends in the park in 22. That was the year it flooded,
Oh
and they
gosh.
they didn't. So I knew the person that ran one of the HR team for one of the companies inside the park, and she said to me, "Don't leave because they're gonna reopen." Nobody knew that on the outside at that time,
Right.
and I mean, I wasn't going to tell anybody then, but my friends that were in the park, I was so jealous because we were on the outside. We couldn't go in
Oh,
for like
okay.
2 weeks. And so they had all these magical pictures with just them in one location with no
Right.
tourists,
Right.
so I can only imagine that it was very similar when you went into the park. So you
Yeah,
would have
that's the
had
thing.
it all to yourself.
Yeah, and there was no bear jams. We were able to go through the Tetons up into Yellowstone. We went all over Yellowstone one day. It was actually there was a blizzard going on like while we were driving out there, but again there was no one on the
That
roads.
happens.
It was just it was insane because like I said, we got to the like Old Faithful and that lodge there, and there was like I don't know 10 people on the dock of Old Faithful. You know that wraparound dock, maybe ten
Yep.
people. It was insane.
Yep.
I know I'll never
Yeah,
have
with
that
the first
experience
night
again.
we went in, we got to see a guy propose to his girlfriend at Old Faithful. I mean, like it was just so neat. So yeah.
Right. So, a little bit more about work camping, because
Mhm.
I've never work camped. I've seen some opportunities pop up here and there, but for someone that let's say is new to RVing, never work camped before, what are some tips that you might give somebody about like first jobs to look for or things to look out for? Maybe stay away from certain jobs that are offering X amount of money or X amount of stuff for an RV site. Give me a little insight there.
Sure. So, I mean, some places we didn't have to pay for our site that we did. Amazon changed the game. They didn't have you pay for it in the beginning, but later they did have you pay for it. So,
Mm.
Yellowstone, we did pay for our site, but it was like $100 every 2 weeks. Like it was
Oh
stupid
wow.
money. I mean, you just pay that because you're like, I'm in the most magical place ever, and
Right.
I get to spend my summer here. So I think the big thing is know what you're getting yourself into. Have expectations, but and know why you want to work camp. So, like, if you want to work camp just for a site, I think that's okay if you have other income streams coming in. If you just want to be in a location longer to experience something, having a written list of expectations is great. When we went to Yellowstone that summer, what we didn't realize is that it can and does snow 12 months of the year. We all four got different offer letters because there were four of us working that summer. My 15-year-old worked bikes, my son worked in the kitchen, my other son did maintenance, and I was at the front desk. And they put you in different locations because if you leave in the middle of the summer, that means every department isn't screwed, basically. So, but
Gotcha.
that being
Yeah.
said, only one of us got the offer letter that said it can and does snow 12 months of the year. So that snow that you experience is not uncommon.
Right.
May 8th when we arrived there, it was sunny and 65 degrees, and by that night there was a foot of snow by morning. So,
Yep. Yep. That's
so
we
there's
got there
things that
sometime in
maybe,
May. I don't remember exactly when it was,
yeah,
but yeah.
for sure. And a lot of the gates don't even open until May 15th. So, so that being said, there's a lot of that people just don't realize. Know where you're going is important too, because you can experience things like elevation sickness, especially in places like Yellowstone or Yosemite, that you don't think that you'll have those problems. And so knowing how to handle yourself in those situations. As far as money goes, it's always good to know upfront what you're going to get paid.
Right.
And if you're going to have to pay something to stay at the site you're at, and if you don't want a paid site, that's great. Know if they will hire a solo versus because a lot of places won't. Know if you need to own an RV. There are places like Coolworks where you can apply online that offer housing. That's not my jam, but my kids are looking at that maybe for a summer, to launch out and stuff.
Oh,
So, I
sure.
mean,
Yeah.
that's always an option too. So there's lots of different ways to do it. I don't know if there's any one wrong way, but make sure that you know what you're getting yourself into is important. We've never left a work camping job, and I can tell you that we've seen a lot of people leave mid-season, and that can really hurt that campground for the season too.
Oh, I can imagine it'd be kind of like you said, devastating if, especially if they put 4 people on to like into the kitchen and then 4 people out left at one time. Like
Yeah,
they're pretty SOL right there.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. So one other thing I want to talk about, just in terms of like the early years, and again having 5 kids with you plus 2 adults, and did you have any pets as well?
Well, yeah, we added them, but we started with some
But when
cats.
you first started,
Yeah,
you had 7 human bodies plus
8. Well, row. Yeah, yeah, because so we had 6 kids and 2 adults,
okay, and then animals. Did you have a cat or dog or anything like that yet?
two
When you
cats. Yeah,
first
we
started,
launched with 2 cats. Yep,
2 cats, and it was a 20. You said 27-foot travel trailer.
yep.
Okay, so what I'm getting at is that to the listeners out there is just get into something and get on the road, right?
Well, yes, but do your homework.
Of
I
course,
mean,
yeah, But
you know,
the
I do
if you
think that it's
overthought
okay.
that, I was just gonna say if you
Oh
overthought
yeah, no,
that,
we
you would
launched
be in
in
a
90
45
days.
foot you'd be in a 45-foot toy hauler and be like, okay, this is enough room. But really, you can make it happen with 27 feet. It's not comfortable, packed in there like sardines, but just get on the road, just
Well,
get.
yeah. I mean, like, and is it sustainable in 27 feet? Sure. I mean, you have to make some different choices when you do something like that.
Absolutely.
So, the campgrounds, having a lodge to go to, places to see. We hike a lot. We do a lot of things outside of the house, still today, but my teens are now gamers, so they have full computer setups in the back toy hauler now.
Yeah.
And so we're on our fourth RV if we're counting them that way. And now we're in a 42 footer, but that's still with seven people.
Right.
So, I mean, I think that you can make it with any size you want. And I don't think bigger is necessarily better because you can fit a lot of places under 30 feet that you can't fit in what I'm in now. And the reality to that is like places like Yellowstone in my RV, I don't pull this 42-foot beast through there. And
Right.
that's just the rig. That's not the truck.
Right.
So, no, I think you can get out there and do it in whatever you can afford, but I do think you need to have money in the bank because I think far too many RVers go out thinking that, oh, my tires aren't going to blow. And if you replace one tire, you should be balancing that with two because the other one's going to blow within 100 to 200 miles.
Right.
So, I mean, I think that a lot of people just need to know, that going into it.
Yeah, absolutely. RVs, they can be extremely cheap and you can save a ton of money, or you can spend even more money than if you flew somewhere and rented a hotel. It's, there's such a
Sure.
wide range there. But yes, with regards to like maintenance and repairs, like you're pulling this thing down the road, it's going through an earthquake. Every single time you're moving,
Yeah,
it's going through an earthquake. So
100%.
things
Yeah.
break, tires pop, all air conditioners break, and it's like you need to have either the skill set to do stuff yourself and or funds to pay someone else to do them for you. And some things like I said, tires, like even if you could do tires yourself, you still need the funds to buy them, right? And buying more than one at a time and all that type of stuff.
Well, and having a backup plan to the backup plan. I think you have to be super flexible with this lifestyle, whether
Yeah.
you're weekending or you're full time, because things happen, thing weather can come in, I just left Wyoming where they shut down roads. If they
Mm-hmm.
shut down a road on a travel day, we just don't travel on that day. We move the travel day. And
Right.
so I think that you have to be willing to be flexible on all of it. Frank used to always say Semper Gumby when he
Yep.
was in the Marine Corps.
Yep.
And
Always
so that kind
flexible.
of falls right into,
Yeah.
yeah, and it kind of always falls true here too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's talk about Frank and the first thing you guys started getting into the RV roofing solutions and the partnership there. How did that occur and what is RV roofing solutions?
Okay, so in 2020, Frank had been in the RV roofing industry for a long time at that point, since 2014. And he was the senior service advisor at a different roofing company. And we got introduced to the original owner of RV Roofing Solutions at the Tampa show. And so that year, his name was Scott Christian, and he's not with us as of last summer. He passed away very unexpectedly last
Oh,
year. Uh, he offered if I could double his income in 1 year, he would give me 2% of the company. And most people were like, all of my friends were like, that's nuts. Don't do that. That's 2%. And I'm like, do you know what 2% of a million is?
yeah,
Like, do you
exactly.
know? Because, like, I could live off that. And so, after being an enlisted Marine Corps wife, I could live off that. And I did it, and we knew we could do it because we had helped the other company grow over the years with no skin in the game, so to speak.
Sure. Yeah, had a little bit more motivation this time.
For sure. And so every year since then we've doubled it. And so,
Wow.
we that's the goal is every year to keep doing that. This year we launched at Hershey. So last year when Scott died, I was a 50% partner on paper. And so I automatically assumed the business once the lawyers got done with all the paperwork. But, we moved the company from California to Texas at that point.
Okay.
So if you're a listener, you'll see that the company moved after 20 years, and it's because Frank and I are legally Texas residents through escapees. So we had to move the company from a legal standpoint. So it looks like a brand new company, but it's the same one.
Gotcha. And I'm sure there's a little bit better benefits of running a business out of Texas than there is out of
In
California.
Texas, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
And our guys are nationwide mobile and go to the customers. So, like, we do rallies, we do events, we do all sorts of things. After 3.5 years, we're finally getting into Hershey. We're very excited about that. And so
That's
that's a
awesome.
big one for us. Yeah.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
So
But
so
I mean, it's not just us. We have teams underneath us. So, I mean, all of the company, the home office is run by our family. My son runs our home office down in Texas. We're on the road doing rallies and shows right now. We'd be on the road anyways, but there's a little bit more definition to what that looks like for us this season.
Right.
Summers are hard. We're going into like, I think we counted them today. I think it was 8 rallies between August 8th and September 30th. And that's
Tis the
just
season.
nuts. So, yes.
Now, so what
Under
exactly is RV Roofing Solutions? Like, is it just re-roofing? Is it a certain type of product that they're doing? Is it, using the same PVC membrane types? Like, what is it?
Sure. So RV Roofing Solutions is a nationwide maintenance-free roofing system. It is an aftermarket system, so it's a coating applied with brushes and rollers. Our installers come to the client once they sign a contract and pay a deposit. So we don't even start scheduling until we're at that point. 60% of my clients do it before they ever have a leak as preventative care.
Mm.
So the advantage to that is you're not having to recaulk your seams and seals ever again. Our system comes with a 10-year material and labor warranty. So if anything happens to that roof in the next 10 years, we come back and fix it for free, short of the fact that, you did something to it. So I've
Right.
had 3 warranties that we haven't been able to keep, and one of those is my favorite. The guy calls me up and he says, "Hey, I need you to come fix my roof." And I said, "What did you do?" He said, I my buddy wanted to see what the roof was made of, so I cut a piece out."
My
"You
lord.
did what?
Yeah, I just
And you
cut
want
it so
that
you could
me to
come fix
cover
it.
that under warranty?"
Wow.
He's like, "Well, yeah, it's warranted." I'm like, "It's warranted if it's not through any fault of your own." We do
Yeah.
not have an act of God clause in our warranty. We know there's lifetime roofs out there. We also know that there's clauses in those warranties.
Sure.
So we don't have those. So there's no protect. So we think we have the best warranty on the market because it's a labor and material warranty that is fully transferable if you sell your coach. So it adds value long term.
Oh yeah.
And
I mean,
because Scott was one of the original people doing these roofs, most of these other companies have copied his system over the years.
gotcha. So now, if someone is parked at a campground and a large tree branch falls and breaks or punctures the roof, is that covered under the warranty?
So, I mean, it depends. Oh, they can call their insurance company, and we're actually working with a customer right now that had that happen. The tree attacked them. They may have backed into it, but the tree attacked them. We're
Yeah.
sticking with that story. So, but it's also easier for us to repair our system versus another roof. And so it's exponentially less expensive. So instead of it now being, you know, an $8,000 repair, it's like a $1,500 repair. So the insurance company was like, "Oh yeah, we'll pay that because it's your
Right.
system. They already paid the money out for it." So a lot of times we work with insurance companies all the time. So if
Gotcha.
somebody has an incident with a tree, they can have our system put on. We work with that insurance company. But if they already have our roofing system, then insurance companies will pay it because they know that we're going to cover the warranty.
Yeah. Now, what's some of the most common warranty claims that do come in?
We actually don't have a ton of them. Most of them are because they've added solar. They need the solar feet sealed. That's maybe not under warranty. It really depends on
Right.
its case by case. So, in the event that they have a leak immediately, our home office will send them a small patch kit and then we'll get somebody to them as soon as possible. And so that's the best we got in terms of that, depending on the time of year. Because it's very seasonal. We can't do installs under 50 degrees. So, like, if you
Mm.
have a leak in the middle of winter in, say, Wisconsin, it's probably next spring or summer before we can get back up there. So, getting a mobile repair guy with our stuff and we can talk them through it, as far as a patch goes, we tell them to seal it up with whatever they need to. If they have to use a Turnabond, if it leaks, use a Turnabond. I
Right.
mean,
Just
like,
whatever
but
it takes
that's
to get the
just a
job
temporary
done.
patch.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
'Cause I
Because we
assume the
just don't want any
material.
water getting in.
Right. Because I assume that the material that you guys use, it won't cure under 50 degrees. That's why. That's why you
Correct.
can't do
Yeah.
it. Yeah. And
So
so
it's applied with brushes and rollers. There are companies out there that spray it on. That specific company is a franchise. So the problem with that is you have to go to them and then you have to
mm,
lose your rig for X number of days or whatever. And that works for
yeah.
some people if they're just in a local area. And so it's a great company. The biggest thing with that company is the weight on it is different than ours. Ours is much lighter. And so, like, if you're in a fifth wheel or travel trailer, you may be looking at the weight of that product where, a lot of people don't. And they just say, "Oh, this company's better," but they don't realize that that thickness means that it's heavier. So on a
Mm,
Class A diesel pusher, that might not be a big deal. But if you're in like a 30-foot travel trailer and you're counting every ounce on there, that matters.
gotcha. Now, this is a random question just because so I have an Airstream and I've had fifth wheels before, and I know like that product would be very applicable to the standard fifth wheel type of roof. But with an Airstream, there's no seams up there, there's no membrane. The roof is just aluminum. Is your
Right.
coating is that system beneficial to Airstream owners, and if so, like why?
Well, 100%. So it actually is. We do about 6 Airstreams a year. So it depends on the client, obviously,
Of
if you want
course.
to lose the look of the metal on top. And so it is a white substance. So it takes 3 days to do a standard install, but it deadens the sound when it's raining. It keeps your rig noticeably cooler, anywhere between 8 and 12 degrees. And so those two factors alone is enough for some Airstream owners to say this is the right choice for me. Have we done an Airstream rally? No, we have not been invited to one yet, but you know the day's coming. We are Tiffin benefit partners. We are FRVA
Nice.
benefit partners. So members of Tiffin Allegro Club or FRVA do get additional discounts with us. You know, we'd love to be the company that everybody goes to. We're not there
Sure.
yet, and we're still growing, and we've been
Absolutely.
around for over 20 years. So it's just a matter of time. People just don't know
Absolutely.
who we are yet.
Sure. Yeah, and that's saying like I've seen those types of booths, maybe the same company's booth before at different RV shows, like the Tampa RV show years and years ago.
Yep. We're down in Tampa. So we've been down in Tampa for 15 years. This will be our 16th year there. We're
Right.
always
But
back in the A building, so the supplier building.
yep.
This year, coming in 2026, we actually have two buildings, and that's because of the next project I bought last year.
Okay. Well, we're just about to get into that. So, but now you're just talking about rallies and Tampa. So, and then you said Hershey. This is the first year you guys are going to be in Hershey as the company.
Yep. And we'll be
Nice.
at the Dallas Super Show too. So my son will be
Nice.
handling that booth.
Nice.
Yep.
So your son
Yeah, we're
doesn't.
excited to. So rally shows like that are a little bit different for us. Typically, we do rallies, and the difference between, do you know the difference between them?
I know the difference, but let's go ahead and explain it for the average person that might not be
Okay.
in the
So
RVing
so
community.
the difference between a rally and a show is a rally typically you have anywhere between 100 to 4 or 5 or 600 people with their RVs parked on site. At those, what we do is we come in, we set up a booth, we do a free roof inspection with no cost to the customers, and then we send them a pictures of that roof inspection, the full inspection report, and obviously an estimate so they can see what they're getting into. What makes those special is if they decide to buy during that event, there's obviously some extra discounts. We will often stack discounts at events like that.
Hmm.
And so, like, you'll have the show discount, but then if you're a veteran or first responder, there's an additional discount. And we also do a discount for teachers, and we stack all of those at a show or a rally,
Nice.
but we lock in the pricing. And
Hmm.
so the advantage to doing it there is you sign the contract, you pay the $500 deposit. But if I don't have an installer standing on your doorstep and I haven't shipped you, $1,500 worth of product for the install, we'll give that back if you cancel. I do have less than a 3% cancellation rate. So it's very rare that it actually cancels, and it's hard to say when that's going to happen. That
Sure.
being said, a show is just a booth. And so basically, what we do at those is we still write the estimates, but we're basing all of our information off of what you tell me is going on your roof.
Right.
And so the challenge with that is there's sometimes when we get there a change order, and so that's a best guess estimate. So if you tell me, I have two soft spots on my roof, I might say, okay, well, we should probably plan for 2 sheets of wood, and we get there and it's more like 4 or 5. Nothing is ever done without the client's written consent. So that's super important to us that is, taken care of in a very honest and trustworthy way because we want to be the company that people come to. The other thing is we always measure each roof. Most companies do that. They base it on your length of your RV. We don't. We measure from termination bar to termination bar. So there's some brands, and Airstream's included in this, that maybe your roof structure, that circular portion, is only 26 feet, but your Airstream is like 34
Right.
because you got to factor in the hitch and all that. We're
Hmm.
only going to charge you for that 26 feet.
Right. You only charge for the actual roofing material applied.
Correct.
Gotcha. So now, if someone were to be planning to come to Hershey to learn more about the product, they aren't getting it done there at the show, but they could get on a schedule and they can
No.
be written out. How would that work?
Yeah, so like at a booth like Hershey, what we're doing is we're collecting leads. Then the guys at our team at the home office will write those estimates and get them out as quickly as we can during an event like that. Sometimes it takes a day or two. And then they have like 2 weeks to decide from that date. So we don't ask them to make a quick decision because we're not a cheap ticket item. So
Hmm.
that's important to us to, for them to look it over, think it over, ask all the questions, and come back and have conversations with us before they make that kind of purchase. We want them to be completely comfortable with us.
Yeah, I mean, it's clearly more of a, like an investment into protecting your investment, your RV, right? I mean, that's for some people that's their livelihood.
Right.
For some people, it's just how they travel in the summers. But either way, it's an investment into that machine.
For sure. And most people don't check their roof like they ought to. So, do
Oh no,
you
for
know
sure.
how often you should remove and replace your sealant?
I'm gonna go with every 3 to 6 months. Now,
Okay,
no
so
one
you
would
don't
ever
have to
do
you have
that.
to check it every 3 to 6 months.
But yeah,
But
that's what I meant. It
every
was
12
just
to 18 months. Yeah, so every 12 to 18 months on a standard roof, yours may be different a little bit, but you are supposed to remove and replace all your sealant. Most people don't do that. And that's one of the biggest challenges is
I
people
bet.
are, and then the insurance company asks that question for those insurance ones, and they're like, well, when was the last time you removed and replaced your sealant? And they come out and they say, oh, this is neglect because you haven't done it in 5 years. So
Right.
once that caulking gets cracked or hard or like pulls away from somewhere, shrinkage, UV rays affect your caulking. And
Hmm.
so every 3 months you should be checking those sealants. And then every 12 to 18 months, it's called a peel and seal. You should have some kind of RV tech come out and remove all of it and replace it, not go over it. Going
Now,
over it's just a band-aid, but there's usually dirt trapped between those layers.
yeah, now I was gonna ask you about that because I've seen a lot of information online about applying roof sealant, and it is designed to be put over top of your existing sealant, unless there's like a major hole, a major chunk out, and stuff like that. But from what I've seen online with those types of roofs, like a front seal on a fifth wheel, it's like, yep, you just go over with the Dicor right over top of the old stuff. So you're saying that should never
Yeah,
be
you
done?
you should not go over it with anything. No. So you want to remove and replace all that sealant. I actually have a blog up on Learn to RV on a roof repair kit that you should have on hand for any
Okay.
situation. But the reality is very simple. It's when you put those layers together, there's always dirt in between. So even if you clean with the best products out there, denatured alcohol is what we use when we're cleaning stuff like that. But peeling it away is the best way to get a new tight seal up there. So if you put those layers together, if you have a leak, you don't know which layer that leak came from.
True.
And that's what we see time and time again. And we
Right.
fight against things like silicone coatings, stuff like that. Silicone coatings are great on the outside, but underneath them, we had one a couple years ago. The guy had 5 sheets of wood that were bad under it. He had
Wow.
gotten a pinhole and he couldn't see it, but it rotted all the wood underneath it. But when our installer got there, he calls me back and he says, Jen, I can't do anything for a couple hours once I take this membrane off because silicone, the only way to fix that is to take the whole thing off. So you have to, in your case, you'd have to grind it off, and that would cause damage. But in a standard situation, we have to cut away the old membrane and make a new membrane. Well, we did that, and it was 140 degrees under the silicone.
Oh.
So while
Yeah.
silicone may be super reflective on the front side,
Hmm.
under it absorbs heat.
Yeah. A lot of heat retention down
I'd have
there.
never guessed that, but he had a heat gun.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I can imagine that getting pretty high in temperature pretty quick, especially depending on where you're at.
Yep. Yeah. Our product actually has the highest fire UL rating in the industry, and it will keep it noticeably cooler, which is super important because we see solar burns from solar panels that are mounted too tightly all the time,
Oh
and
yeah.
that protects the, roof from that too.
Gotcha. So how thick is the product when it's fully cured and complete?
So it's 3 full coats. It's about 5 mils thick by the time it's done.
Oh
So
wow.
it's thicker than any standard roof membrane out there, but it's not as thick as some other brands.
Yeah. I was in my head I was
And
thinking you
in
were going to
most
say two
cases,
or
we
three
can
at
go
best.
over the existing roof.
Is that something you typically want
No,
to do?
it's about 2 credit cards thick.
Yeah, that's pretty thick. That's what I was like in my head
Which,
before you answered. I
which,
figured it would be about 2 or 3 millimeters thick, but then you said five. I was like, that's almost double what I would
yeah,
have thought.
yeah. I mean, so I mean, like going over the existing roof, we think it gives you an extra layer of protection. So,
Hmm.
I mean, 60% of our customers are people that don't need a roof. And I
Right.
can't tell you how many times I get told that. So
Right.
they're people that want a maintenance-free aspect. So all you have to do with our system once it's done is wash it twice a year.
Oh wow. Yeah, that's pretty nice.
That's it.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
okay, well,
Yeah,
what
well,
else is there?
it's
Any?
great for, especially for older couples that don't want to be on the roof. I mean,
Oh
we have
yeah.
a customer that was in his 30s that just was afraid of heights.
Yep. I know those types. Is there anything else you want to talk about the business, about the RV roofing solutions before we move on?
I mean, we love doing what we do. I mean, we wouldn't do it if we didn't, but we're family owned and operated. And I think that's important. We're veteran owned and all of our products are made right here in the United States. I think that's important to note because it
Oh,
means we're not
absolutely.
shipping in fabric from China or products from China or
Yeah,
any other
absolutely.
company. So I think that that's important too.
Yeah, for sure. So let's move on to learn to RV. I'll just let you start talking. I mean, what is learn to RV? Tell me about it.
So, okay, so my friend Doug Setzer started Learn to RV almost 12 years ago.
Okay,
And he was on
I
the
know
road
Doug.
with his wife, super awesome couple. They traveled. Cool. That's
Yeah,
even better.
yeah.
So, about 2.5 years ago, around a campfire, Doug said, Mandy's had some health issues, surgeries, stuff like that. And so they settled down in Florida. And so we saw him in Palm Springs. And we've known Doug since he's been on the road. And he said, I think I'm giving up Learn to RV. And I said, well, if you ever decide to sell it, I would love to have it. I said, I'd love to keep it in the community, in the industry, and I have some ideas for it. So if you've been to Doug's old page, you know that it was a WordPress blog that was a little bit, full of ads and, making some money that way. And that's, what we all do on the road is diversify your income. So Mandy and Doug and Frank and I sat down this past winter in Tampa or in Claremont and negotiated some stuff. So basically, Frank and I own Learn to RV now. And so I was worried that it would be like stealing his baby. And Mandy looked at me and said, no, I think we're ready to give it up for adoption. So Doug is still around. I mean, he's still a voice in Learn to RV, and we're hoping that he'll come on and do some blog posts and stuff real soon. Again, he's just been super busy. But we have rebranded and refaced Learn to RV. So it's not on WordPress anymore. It's on Duda, which is what we use for our website host. And it's super clean. It looks like a community page now. All the pages are free. Some of our blogs have ad links in them because we still need it to make money at some point. But the reality is, most of it, we want to just get everything out there for people. And we don't want them to have to pay memberships to do it all, to find the information. We feel like, and that's been our heart all along, is connection, community, and just how to, right? So partnering with people like you to get on YouTube channels and stuff in front of people. So we don't have any partners. Frank and I own it completely. We want it to be a situation where anybody could potentially be listed. So you'll find FRVA and escapees. You'll find full-time families and you'll find, the Republic of Nomads, competing groups. But I think that you can join more than one community and find value in it. So I don't think you just have to be one member of one club. I guess that's what I'm saying. So we're not letting any one club pay our bills for us
Mhm.
so that we can get that information to people.
Gotcha. So is learn to RV
Did
just
I lose you?
nope, I'm still here. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah, I gotcha.
Okay. It should. I'll edit this out a little bit, but it should. No matter what happens on my end or your end, your video, my video, it all uploads
Yeah, unless
individual.
Starlink goes down today again.
Yeah, yeah. I saw that happened yesterday. But yeah, I should upload everything and then it'll come into my program on my end. So, but just carry on. But what was I just about to ask? Okay, let's get back to it. So, now hold on a second. It's giving me a reconnecting. I want to wait for this prompt to go away before I start again.
Okay, so can you hear me? You're frozen. Yep, now I'm alone.
Okay, are you still there?
I am. I am
Yeah.
still here.
Mine,
I checked my internet because I was like, it must be
yeah.
me.
No, mine had just like a random heart attack and just like the program shut down. But
Gotcha.
okay, it shows recording again, so I should be able to put it together. All right, so we
Okay.
were just about to talk. So learn to RV. So is it a website and it's focused on RV education? I mean, tell me like if someone's looking into learn to RV for the very first time, what are they looking for? What are they expecting?
So I mean, obviously it's education based initially, and so you're going to find blog articles and content that is geared toward new RVers. But I don't think it's just for new RVers. That's actually a question we're going to talk about real soon. And we've got some special things in the works, and so at Hershey we'll be releasing some and that's our whole first episode. Like what is Learn to RV? So
Okay, gotcha.
no, but I think it's for RV enthusiasts. I think it's for people that have done this for a long time. Our writers, we've got a team of writers coming on a regular basis. Some of them are guest blogs. Some of them are more regular where they're writing like every 6 weeks for us. And we've got all of Doug's great old content up there too. So we're not taking his stuff down unless We've had to revamp a few of them because we've had to change links. Companies have gone out of business, that sort of thing. But there's community pages, so there's groups. So like you can link right off the community pages to the Facebook group for Learn to RV. We're 14,000 members in there. And it's Learn to RV, the friendly, informative group. It's a no nonsense group where if you ask how to make money on the road 50 times, they're still supposed to answer nicely and not tell you to go check the links because that's just not what we're about. It's about being kind. And
Right.
so, if you join the group, you'll see, can you be kind? Can you be nice?
Yes. Yeah. I'm I'm
Because
I'm
we
in the
think that
group
there's
on
enough
mine.
snarkiness out there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
so I mean, so that group itself is, the goal is to make it a place that's a safe place to ask questions for anybody. If you're new, if you're older, I do ladies only chats at events. And
Nice.
so we started Ladies Chick Chat in that group. So there's that. We also have a road schooling resources group for families that travel. There are memberships that you can get into. Road Schooling Resources is a private group that you have to join and ask the questions because there's families out there. And as a family myself, I think it's important to have some autonomy in where you're traveling when you're traveling. So
Absolutely.
that group is not a public group. So,
Mhm.
but it's free. So I mean, if you can meet up with somebody online using that group. There's no problem with that. But I think that some of those resources should be free resources. And so that was my heart. And that's why Doug said, yep, we're giving this up for adoption. So we have rebranded. I think it's better than it was, but I don't want to ever lose the heart of Learn to RV because Doug's heart in that was very much like ours.
Gotcha. So, are you guys going to be doing YouTube videos for content in terms of like education stuff, or are you going to just be like, what's the plan?
So that's a great question. So that's evolving regularly. We do have all the channels. Doug was smart. He got them all at the beginning. There is a podcast coming out. We'll drop that at Hershey. RV Riffing Solutions is powering, Learn to RV right now, essentially.
Mhm.
And so it's, we're coming in as sponsors at the content creators event down there. And so we will drop all the information about the podcast at Hershey at that event. And we're super excited about it. I have a team of 4 ladies that are on board with us and we'll have guests on. And some of it will be just kind of chick chat where we're talking about different topics that affect all of us. It's going to be a variation of all sorts of things. So that will be our primary focus for the YouTube right now. And then as time goes on, the goal would be that the 4 of us would be creating content for that channel in separate locations as we travel. That's the ideal.
Okay.
But it's gotten bigger and it's gotten bigger than we expected it to, faster than we expected to. So it's definitely a dynamic that is regularly evolving.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. I think the very first time I ever talked to Doug was I want to say back in like 2022, maybe. He reached out to me on Messenger because I had built at the time it was the largest RV solar project that had been done.
Oh, cool.
5,000 I had over 5,000 watts of solar on the roof of my Keystone, Montana. And the racking system that I built and designing of the whole thing, he had reached out to me about like how I came up with the design to build the platforms and stuff like that. And that's when we had first started talking. And then since then we talked about solar a ton of times because for a while there on YouTube, I was probably like the number one like RVer's resource for solar information. I had a lot of solar videos, all solar installation, what's a solar panel, solar charge controller, batteries, inverters, the whole 9 yards. I had episodes about every individual
Right.
piece to try and educate as much as I possibly could about solar. And that's how I first got into contact with Doug and the group, that Learn to RV group. So it's a great group. I mean,
Yeah.
I was just gonna say it's the same reason that I have my group, the Why Not RV group. It's there's 2 rules on my group. I've said it before. It's no bullying and no politics. Period. I mean, it's when someone asks a question in these groups, I cannot stand it when someone gets like angry about it or shames somebody. It's like just because your grandfather taught you how to do something when you were 8 years old doesn't mean someone who's 60 years old who's never been taught it is stupid or uneducated or anything like that. It is
Agreed.
strictly the fact that, okay, you learned it at a young age because you had that opportunity. They never had the opportunity. They're here now trying to learn it. So just teach them, just be nice
Right.
about it. It's ridiculous. It's
Right.
this world needs a lot more kindness and, especially to strangers, like, kindness to strangers is it's been lost in the younger generation, I think. And it's like, We need it to come back.
Yes, for sure. And I think that everybody in our world, because so many people are super tech savvy, we have to keep in mind not everybody is. So my husband calls me the 5 o'clock flasher. And so it has nothing to do with a trench coat.
Okay.
Basically, the old VCRs, I could always get them off of like 12 o'clock flashing, but I could never program one. So, I mean, the standing joke was I could set the time on them.
Okay.
So that's how the nickname came to be.
Okay, gotcha.
But there's a lot of people out there like me. I mean, you had to resend me the link to make sure I could get in here. So, I mean, like, not everybody knows how to go up to the top of Facebook, hit the little hamburger button, and find that information and hit the search bar. So,
Right.
I always want it to be a place that's safe for people. And I can't tell you how many times that I do a ladies' chick chat where they say, I can't ask my husband. He won't be nice about it. And
That's
so I want the
disgusting.
ladies' chick chat to be a safe place for ladies to ask whatever they want to.
Right. They should.
And that could be something as simple as, my husband won't let me drive the RV. How do you find a place to learn? Well, I have contacts at almost all the RV driving schools, and I'm happy to drop that information for them. And I
Yeah.
think that's an important factor because there's lots of people that something happens to their spouse on the road and they have no way to get home. And
Oh
so,
yeah.
I think that's important information.
Yeah, absolutely. We I've talked about that with my wife multiple times. Is like if something were to happen to me, if I was in the hospital, if I had some kind of injury that I couldn't help you, you would leave the trailer. You just get in the truck and leave because you don't know what to do, how to do it. And I've tried to teach her. It's not her thing. RVing has never been her thing. It's always been my thing. So that's a different dynamic, of
Gotcha.
course. Every couple out there there's different dynamics. But yeah, and if your wife is interested in towing the RV, emptying the tanks, hooking up electric, teach her and be gentle about it.
Well,
It's
and if she's not, join Family RV Association. So it used to be FMCA, but FMCA rebranded last year.
okay.
And
That's
so
what I
now
thought. I was
it's
like,
Family RV Association. Yep. So in 2017, they allowed towables. Most people have no idea that that's true. But they have been allowing towables since 2017. But with your membership, it's $99 a year. And this one's a no-brainer for me. And I don't work for FMCA, okay? Or
yeah,
FRVA. But for $99 a year, your membership comes with the ability to tow you home. It's
that's
the
awesome.
FMCA Assist program. And so, like, it's a no brainer. If you're out on the road and you get hospitalized for any reason whatsoever, they'll tow your rig home, they'll get you home. It's insurance that you don't have to pay for. And for $99 a year, it's just a safe way to do that. There's
Right.
other companies out there if you're out there full time like me that you can buy like for $5,000 or something stupid. You can do that, but FRVA is just as good as those programs if you're just out there, especially for short-term RVers. And you get the benefit of community. You can go to rallies and you can get connected. And so I think that that's part of being on the road too, is being connected. I think people don't make it because they're not connected.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to talk about your current rig now because we talked about the early years and all that stuff, and now we've caught back. We've caught all the way up through RV Roofing Solutions and learned RV. So what are you guys in right now?
So last summer we actually replaced our Forest River Cardinal, but we left our Forest River Cardinal because it needed a bunch of work. It had been riding around for 8 years hard, traveling full time for this business and everything else. We are in the RV industry, so we bought a new to us RV. And so we bought a 2008 Newmar Dutch or Newmar X Air. That is a fifth wheel. They only made them for 2 years.
Okay.
What we loved about it was it didn't have a frame that's failing in the industry.
Hmm.
So back then, Newmar built their own frame, so it's on a good chassis. It had a bad roof. Newmar, by and large, has an Achilles heel, and unfortunately, it's their roof. They have a great vapor barrier in between there, so it doesn't get into the walls, and you have no idea. But when Frank walked the pattern on top of the roof as we were looking at this rig, I knew it would need a new roof. So 10 sheets of wood leader.
Well, it's a good thing you know a
It was
guy.
re-roofed in Goshen good thing I know a guy, but it was re-roofed in Goshen last summer. And so we now have a 2008, and that was a long way to tell you that information. Newmar X Air, which is one of like 2 years they built a fifth wheel, kind of like the Van Lee for Tiffin.
Okay, gotcha. Because I
They don't
knew
make
that.
those anymore either.
I know. Yeah, the Van Lee. I looked at Van Lee's back when I first got my very first RV. And I remember it was
Yeah.
because there was one for sale, and it was like a stupid low price for this thing, and I was like, I didn't know what Van Lee even was, and I kind of looked into it. And my friend has a Tiffin Phaeton motorhome, and came to realize I'm like, oh, this is like something that your company made, and this, his coach is freaking gorgeous. But it was because it was on a
Yep.
salvage title, and that's why it was so cheap. So it was like, we
Yeah.
could.
I mean, Tiffin only made like, well, and we would have looked at Van Lee's, but Tiffin only made like, I don't know, 28 toy haulers. Like literally all of them were, that was it. And
Wow.
there's only like nine still out there today. The problem is three out of nine of those are used by Tiffin to go to rallies. Because I've talked to Greg, who's the head of, that group, because we're at Tiffin rallies. And so he's like, yeah, well, you won't find them because there's only like three toy haulers. There's like maybe six in the country that are toy haulers still. And I was like, are you kidding?
Yeah, that's
So
crazy.
ours is a toy hauler. We call it a kid hauler, but
Yeah.
we actually have two kids moving out next month. And so launching kids into the real world is very much a part of what we've done that makes us a little bit different than a lot of other families too. So
Yeah.
a lot of families get off by the teenage years.
Exactly. And now by this time, how many kids have you launched into success? Like this is kid number what and what that
So
are leaving.
so this is a slowly and surely kind of thing. So in 2020, Micah was going to go backpack Europe, and he had just done Camper Force, and so he was 19, and the world flipped upside down, and
Hmm.
so he wanted a moving buddy. So he waited for Hezekiah to turn 18, and then they were going to launch in Vegas, and then they didn't. So they're actually moving to Texas to live with my son in the next few weeks. They rented a house together. So
Oh,
my
nice.
son and his wife, and then the boys will be in a house together in the next few weeks. I'll have a whole Houston the home office is just growing.
Nice.
So we'll be down to three kids, 18, 15, and 13, and it's going to feel really weird.
Oh yeah. And that like the 18-year-old that's going to stick around is still probably not too far off before they're going to leave, and then you'll be down to two kids.
She's not, yeah, she's definitely not too far off.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good. All right. So what else do you want to talk about? What anything else that's coming up soon? What's happening now? Anything like that?
I mean, it's kind of an evolving process. So, I mean, I'm thrilled that I got the opportunity to talk to you. Are you going to be in Hershey?
I'm gonna try and get to Hershey. Yeah, I definitely want to go. I just haven't set that block of time out yet, because my
Yeah.
we have some personal stuff going on that I can't dedicate to it yet. But the nice thing is it's only like a 6 hour drive. So and the way I have my
Oh, yeah.
Airstream set up, I'll just be boondocking wherever. So I don't need any reservations or anything like that. So if I go, it'll be last minute.
Yeah. Well, and the content creators event, Josh always puts on a good show. So, I mean, that'll
Yeah,
be fun.
I say I've been trying to
We're
get to
going as a
one for
double whammy
years.
this year. So,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah. No, it's always done really well. It's a great networking event. We met a lot of people last year. I know a lot of people. Like, we've been doing this forever, and all the influencers that come up, it's so cute, and you're not going to want to air this. So we were standing around a campfire one night, and all the girls were like, well, let's talk about how many days we've been on the road. And I'm like, really? I'm going to need my calculator.
Yeah, exactly. Like how many
But I
thousands
mean,
of
we
days?
made it. Yeah, we made a very real decision our first year on the road not to do that. And so like even taking on Learn to RV, the meeting that we had with our team just a couple days ago was, okay, are the four of us really ready to be influencers? We all decided because it's not with our family, but it's with our family that it's okay this way. It's not us personally, but it's at the same time, there's a lot that comes with that. And I've seen it happen to my friends. So, I mean, I know exactly what I'm getting myself into.
Hmm.
Um, and I didn't expect to be doing what I'm doing, but
Right.
it's not bad, if that makes sense.
Sure. Okay. Well, anything else? Any other closing thoughts
I
or
mean,
anything?
I mean, who needs a 53-year-old influencer?
The world does. It's
Apparently.
good to get perspective from all over the place. So, but what? Anything else? Any other
Well, and
closing
I mean,
thoughts?
there's
And
17 years between my oldest and my youngest. So, I mean, like, I'm a weirdo. I mean, I've
yeah.
been homeschooling for a long time. My oldest is 30. So, I mean, and I'm a grandma. I mean, we had our first granddaughter. She was actually born on the road. My daughter, and that's a whole story in itself, but my daughter came home for 2 years. And
Wow.
so we traveled with 10 people in my rig
Oh
and
my
a
gosh.
newborn and, working it was nuts, but it was fun. Like every season is different. And I think that's the takeaway is, community matters 100%. And
Hmm.
I think that I I worked for this guy that was a pastor in Oceanside for a long time. And Jim always said there's no second row. And I think that that's very important in the RV world. As we're sitting by a campfire, I think the thing that I would take away is don't make a second row. Always pull the chairs back, make people feel welcome. And so that is my heart, and it has been forever. And so I always want that to be part of Learn to RV roofing. Doesn't matter what I'm doing. I always want people to feel welcome and appreciated. And so, bringing on Learn to RV this year, I think that that's the biggest thing is we can influence the world in that way. But I think that it's more than that. It's way more than that. It's growing and learning and knowing that we're all lifelong learners. And, your
Hmm.
bearings can go out on the edge of a bridge at any time, and
Hmm.
having places to go and people to contact, knowing who to call for solar advice. That's important, because there's a lot of shady people out there. I always tell people for roofing, please don't choose the company with a tail light guarantee. And they're often like, what's that? The minute you drive off their parking lot, that guarantee is over. And so, I want people to understand that, community matters. Knowing how to find somebody, even if you use RV Help, which is a great resource, the downside of RV Help is you need to interview those people
Right.
because you don't know what they know. You could end up with an RV tech that specializes in dumping tanks working on your air conditioner,
Right. Oh yeah,
and
absolutely.
vice versa.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
So,
you definitely sound like you have a lot of
knowledge is power.
conviction. Yeah, you have a lot of conviction in your voice about. I can tell how passionate you are about it. So I think you're coming at everything from the right place. Everything will be good to go and work out.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and if you ever want to do a guest blog post on Learn to RV on solar, we don't have anybody doing that, so let me know.
Okay. Yeah. I'm not much of a writer, but we can try and work on something together. Well, how do people
I
find you
have a
online?
copywriter. All you have to do is submit it.
Okay.
Okay, so finding us online. So if you want to find our old stories, you want to go to Narrow Road Schoolers on Facebook or Instagram. Our dog Wesley does have his own channel on Instagram. It's Wesley the Frog. It's crazy. If you want to learn more about RV roofing solutions, it's www.rvroofingsolutions.com. And then Learn to RV is super easy. It's www.learntorv.com. It's LEARNTORV.com. And it's for everybody, So those are the big places to find us. Learn to RV has all of our links up on the webpage to YouTube, all of the things. We're everywhere. We even have a Reddit account. So I haven't figured out how to use it yet, but I think I need to make my teenagers in charge of it.
There you go. Well, I'll be sure to put down in the description all those links for everyone to access you. Jennifer, I really appreciate your time and this conversation. It was great.
Well, likewise. Thanks so much for bringing me on, Chris.
All right, thanks.